Last week was a good week for rates. We saw some minor improvement. It wasn't major, but it definitely was something. So what happened last week? Well, consumer sentiment dropped to the lowest levels we've seen since November of 22. That's 2.5 years ago. People are worried about our economy. We also saw existing home sales the highest they've been in a full year, which is a good thing. The Fed left short-term rates unchanged, but they lowered their projections for GDP growth and they increased their projections for inflationary growth. So both those things are bad, and that tends to put downward pressure on rates. Remember, what's bad for the economy is good for rates, and a strong economy is bad for rates. So what do we expect to see this week? Well, we will hear from a bunch of Fed speakers, so they'll get a chance to defend why they think what's happening. And on Tuesday, we'll see more consumer confidence numbers and new home sales. Wednesday's pretty quiet. Thursday, we'll see the pending home sales numbers. Friday, the biggest report of the week will be the PCE, that's personal consumption expenditures, and that's an inflationary report that the Fed uses to decide what they're gonna do. Where are the rates right now? 6.72% on a 30-year, 6.13% on a 15-year, and the FHA's at 6.15. So we're solidly entrenched in the sixes, it seems like right now, especially if you're doing a purchase and you have good credit. Remember, those rates come from Mortgage News Daily. They are not Weber Mortgage's rates. I will be happy to quote you personal rates if you want to give me a call. Well, we're in full spring mode, right? The pollen is in the air. People are starting to look for houses. There's more inventory. We see inventory coming out and hitting the market. And again, are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? It's hard to know. A lot of that depends on the market that you're in. If you're in a really highly desirable neighborhood like a Mountain Brook or a Homewood, probably still a seller's market. If it's a really good house, for sure a seller's market, and if it's fairly priced. Then if you're in other markets that are a little bit more outlying and not quite as heavily driven, like in Alabaster, Pelham, some parts of Hoover, or north of town, west of town, maybe it's still a buyer's market. You can still make some offers that include some negotiation. So if you want to talk more about any of that, whether now's a great time to buy a house, spoiler alert, now is always the best time to buy a house. I would strongly recommend it. What about mortgage rate trends? We continue to see a downward trend. I got asked just this weekend, should I wait to buy a house until the rates are lower? The answer is no, absolutely not. If you wait, you're going to be in more competition, because I promise you there are other people making that mistake. If you have questions about purchasing, refinancing, or waiting, or anything else, just pick up the phone and call Weber Mortgage at 205-823-6701. We will be thrilled to answer those questions for you. We really appreciate your business. That's why Weber Mortgage is a family in the business of helping families.